Hello trigonometry students, this will be a short video describing how to graph one period of a positive cotangent or negative cotangent function. So we'll start here on the left with 2 cotangent 3x minus pi minus 3. And it will start very similar to our tangent graphs where we're finding the period by doing pi divided by b. So the period of this guy is pi thirds. And then the interval will be a little bit different. We're going to set the argument between 0 and pi. Now remember, tangent was between negative pi halves and positive pi halves. Cotangent's between 0 and pi. And then we're just solving for x in the center, as we have in all of our graphs. So pi is less than or equal to 3x, less than or equal to 2 pi. And then we're dividing all sides by 3. So that would be pi thirds less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 2 pi thirds. And then we're going to check the size of our interval and divide it by 4, which will be the period divided by 4, or pi twelfths. And this will tell us how to set up our x-axis. Next we have the amplitude is 2, and the midline is negative 3. And the pattern that cotangent takes is it will have a vertical asymptote at the starting point and a vertical asymptote at the ending point. And it will go through the midline in the middle, and it will go down the amplitude to the right and up the amplitude to the left. So that is the pattern that positive cotangent takes. And now we are ready to graph. We will be starting at pi thirds, and we're adding pi twelfths each time. So the next one would be 5 pi over 12, then pi halves, then 7 pi twelfths, and finally 2 pi thirds. Okay, this says a midline at negative 3. So actually let me move these to up here. I'll make the graph a bit cleaner. Okay, and then we'll graph the midline at negative 3. And our vertical asymptotes at the edges. And then in the center, we'll be going through the midline. And then we're going to go down the amplitude to the right and up the amplitude to the left and connect the dots and go towards the asymptotes. So there's our graph of 2 cotangent, 3x minus pi minus 3. Okay, so that's positive cotangent functions. How about negative cotangent functions? So the process will be the same until that last step of what's the pattern for negative cotangent. So we'll start by period is pi over b, which would be pi halves. And then we'll set up our interval. So we'll go from 0 less than or equal to the argument, less than or equal to pi. And then we're solving for x, so I'm going to subtract pi halves from each side. And then divide by 4, or divide by 2 on each side. Then we're going to take our interval size and divide it by 4, which would be our period divided by 4. And we have an amplitude of 1, a midline of 2, and this is a negative cotangent function. So the pattern will be going through the midline in the center, vertical asymptotes on the sides, and here one of those asymptotes is the y-axis. And then instead of going down to the right, you're going to go up to the right and down to the left. So you'll notice negative cotangent looks a lot like tangent. All right, now let's set up our graph. We are starting at negative pi over 4 and adding pi over 4 each time, or pi over 8 each time, rather. And then we have vertical asymptotes on the left and on the right. And then we have a midline at 2. And the function will go through the midline at 2. And we're going to go up the amplitude to the right, down the amplitude to the left, and connect the dots and go towards those asymptotes. So there's our graph of negative cotangent 2x plus pi halves plus 2. Please let me know if you have any questions on how to graph cotangents, and I would be happy to answer them for you. Thanks. See you guys in class.